Hi, I'm Diane Dayton with Cool Jazz Cafe. We're at the 26th annual Boscov's Berks Jazz Fest in Reading, Pennsylvania. Sitting down with world-renowned bass player, composer, producer, cook.
Yeah, cook, right. Chef Boyardee.
Right? Or B2B.
Yeah, right.
All-around good guy, Brian Bromberg. Thank you for being here.
A pleasure.
You know, you have a project. It was 4 years since your last project, and this is the current one.
Right.
This has such meaning for you. Because for those who don't remember, you had broken your back, so you really couldn't play.
I couldn't
didn't
move.
know if you were going to be able to. Tell me about this project.
Well, my recovery was very long. I started doing, it took about a year before I could actually start doing gigs and getting my strength up, and it was hard. I had no endurance. I'd play and I just couldn't play. It took a long time to get up to where I could do gigs and perform, because I've performed here since I broke my back, but it was painful. Trust me, lived on Advil. But I hadn't recorded, and it was it just took a long time before I felt strong enough and felt good enough. And the thing about when you record is, what are you recording? What kind of record are you doing? What style? What vibe? I mean, I'm very diversified in my, jazz is a big world. So I don't just do one thing, So it's like, what's my next record going to be? And to be honest, what the plan was I was going to do 2 records around the same time. One was going to be, I did a series of CDs called Wood and Wood 2, which is all acoustic bass trio, real traditional jazz stuff. So it was actually going to be Wood 3, and then a real funky record on electric bass, which is what I'm working on now for probably next year. But in the process of getting ready to do Wood 3, everything just kind of changed and took a real serious left turn when it dawned on me that my father had recorded some songs before I was born, made a one-off 78 acetate, this thick, heavy record that spun real fast, full of scratches and everything. And it was really cool. He recorded 2 songs with a band in Tucson, Arizona. And there was never a bass player on it. So my whole life, it was always like, first, wow, my dad's on a record, he must be famous. So it was like cool that he was on a record. So yeah, of course. But there was never a bass player on it. My whole life, it was like, one day I'm going to play with my dad. I'm going to, So when I finally built my studio and started producing, and it just kind of clicked and dawned on me when thinking about, what I could do is like, now you have no excuse. Now you have the time. You can actually record these tracks with your dad. So I converted them from, the 78 to a file, put it in the studio, put up a mic to my bass to get it to sound kind of old, and I'm going to jam with my dad in the era of when these were recorded in the 50s, kind of Dixieland jazz stuff. So I start playing with him in the studio, and like within 30 seconds, I'm just like bawling all over my bass and crying, just literally like dripping while I'm playing. It was so emotional playing with him. But in that moment, it was just life altering for me, because I realized it was like playing with myself. It was like, it was effortless, where I put my notes on the bass and where he put the stick on the cymbal. Our concept of where one is, where one was in the same place. And it was just like, oh my God, that's where I got my feel. It's from him. It's like I felt the genetic groove. I felt the genetic connection with this, and feeling that was so inspirational to me that it made me want to play drums again. It was just like, he's telling me to play drums again. And I had some interesting dreams and some just interesting stuff that, kind of zen, but whatever. It was real, and it was like, it's like, you got to do this. So everything just changed, and it just kind of happened. And then I ended up writing a bunch of music that I hadn't planned on. It just kind of happened, and I just realized that, well, if I'm playing drums on it, I'm playing bass on it, I'm playing the piccolo bass guitar, it's like I started on drums, it's full circle. My life is full circle. Here I'm going back to the beginning and playing with my dad, So it was just such a trip to like feel him from before I was on this planet, and we don't even know exactly when it was recorded. It's possible he made those recordings before he met my mother.
Wow.
So it was like an entire generation before I even existed, and it was so interesting to be able to play music live spontaneously with something from the past like that, music from the past like that. It turned out to be him. It was like a cathartic, like life-changing experience, and full circle happened because of that. So everything changed, right? Everything just like the record changed, everything changed, and here we are.
Wow.
And I'm really happy. I'm really proud of it. I'm really happy with it. I mean, would it have been better if I practiced drums for 6 months and before I made my debut as a drummer, I said, yeah, of course. It's like, am I horrible? No. Am I amazing? No. It's like, can I go to bed at night and feel good about myself? Yes. I'm no Buddy Rich, I'm no Vinnie Colaiuta, but it swings hard. So I'll put my swing up against anything. It was great. And it was like, it's like truly like channeling, I'm like channeling my dad, swinging jazz drummer from Brooklyn. It was just like, this is right. This is in the right place. The feel is there, the heart is there, and it was like, it's good enough for me. It doesn't need to be perfect because it is perfect in its imperfection. This is cool. So I'm really proud of it. Yeah.
You never know where the journey's going to take you, do you, Brian?
Never, and that's the beauty of it. And, jazz is a very creative music, and that's the beauty of jazz and improvisation, And the thing for me, which is a trip, is like when I sit back and look at it and look at my life and look at my career and look at what I do and how I do it and who I do it with, like David Foster and big producers and movies and Michael Bublé and big, huge productions and all this slick LA sound and all this kind of stuff. Well, that's made a huge difference on me. It forces you to raise the bar with what you do. Mm-hmm. So I pay a lot of attention to my production, probably more so than most jazz musicians do. And that's not a put down to them because they're into the moment, the art, the live, it's here, boom, get it. I'm totally good with that. But I have an LA studio mentality of doing this in the session world for 20, 30 years, where it's taken me to this point in my life to actually be able to play improvisational music, live improvisational music, where I'm using the studio and I'm overdubbing myself and I'm playing, I'm one guy, I can't play 3 instruments at once. So I'm having to build vertically the music. And it's really easy if you're building vertically to make it very sterile and stale and it not sound real. But this sounds real and it sounds live and you have no idea that it's the same person. It just doesn't sound it and it doesn't feel like it. And that to me that's what I'm actually the most proud of. It's like it sounds live and it feels live and it doesn't sound produced. And it's cool. And it took, it was a challenge. It took a long time to make. It was hard because I had to play all the parts, or most of the parts. I didn't play the piano or the saxes or horns, but I am the core instrumentalist, and it just takes so much time because each instrument you play takes time. So multiply that times 3, plus all the technology and the editing and all this kind of stuff. So it took a long time to make a record that a jazz group would just go in and play, but it sounds like it. So it was fun. It was a great process.
It was rewarding on so many levels.
Incredible. Yeah, I have amazingly high expectations and I have absolutely no expectations because I've never made a record like it. Yeah. My expectations are high just because I work so hard on it and I so believe in it and feel so strongly about it. On the flip side, I can't expect anything because it's like I've never made a record like this, so whatever happens, happens. And it's been 4 years since I put out a project, so it's been a long time. So it's kind of interesting to see how it's being received. It's doing great. I mean, it's been out less than a week, and we went on the Straight Edge Jazz charts. We went from 44, we're now 14 in a week. Wow. 2 weeks at radio, wow. And it's #1 most added record in smooth jazz for 2 weeks now, So it's like it's kind of like, wow, maybe it's going to work. I don't know, but it was really fun. I don't think I've ever put my heart and soul into a record the same way. I always do when I record. My heart and soul goes into every note I play. This one was on a different level because of the connection to my dad and the connection to my past and my life growing up. That was my full circle. So it's cool.
I'm so glad you did. I can't wait to check it out.
Yeah, it's cool. Thank you.
Back one real quick thing. In the beginning, we were talking about how you are the cook and you've lost weight. And in case people really want to know, what's the secret to that?
Well, I read the ingredients of everything I buy in the store, and I will look at it, and I'll look at the fat content, I'll look at the saturated fat content, I'll look at the carbs, and I'll look at the sodium. And I don't, no artificial flavoring. I'm like, it's got to be real. We are real. I don't want to put, I don't want my dinner to be made by Phillips Petroleum. It's like DuPont makes dessert. It's like I want to eat real food. Just watch your fat intake, watch your sodium intake, watch your carbs intake. I'm a believer that there's nothing wrong with carbs if you're active, you just burn them off, right? Yep. But if you eat a lot of carbs and then sit on the couch and go to sleep, that will turn into fat, But I really watch the saturated fat and just, just keep it down, and you can eat a lot of food or just eat what you want, but moderation. Don't overeat. If you're going to eat a lot, make sure it's got low fat or no fat. It's low and stuff. If you're going to eat a lot, if you're going to have just a little, have a bite of real. I don't want something that's fake.
All right.
But you got to be on it. I mean, every day when I cook, it's like, well, can I use olive oil or should I use butter? Well, there's a big difference in how metabolism is in your body. So it's like, what are you going to eat? So, but I love it.
Maybe you should do the next album project should be around food and music.
Yeah,
Think about it. Think about you can do pairings.
Well,
really.
Well, everybody eats, so it's kind of like No, I get it.
Yeah.
But,
thank you for taking time today.
Of course.
Brian Bromberg on jazz and on food.
Yes, yes. Chef Boyardee.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you so much. We are coming to you from the Berks Jazz Fest.